You stay with us, then we're going to get some analysis from our international affairs editor, Angela Diffley, who joins me in the studio. Angela, what did you make of the overall tone of that speech? I mean, it was certainly wide-ranging, if we don't say rambling. Was it aggressive? Because Trump did say, you know, he cares about Europe, for example, but was there much warmth to it?
Well, you know, I applaud Fraser there for trying to fact-check. There was just so much there, and so much that would benefit from fact-checking and would fail the test. You know, the level of exaggeration, you know, we doubled this, we tripled that, that has skyrocketed. You know, the tone of it was typical Donald Trump, full of exaggerations, bullying, very personal. I found it quite disturbing. He did appear, and a lot of people have commented since the Venezuela thing, he does appear a bit drunk on power. That is part of his personality, but it seems to have upped recently. You know, he is talking to a room of some of the world's most powerful people. They know their stuff. They know what's true and what isn't true. And you were left wondering, what was he trying to do? Who was he addressing this to? What point was he trying to make beyond this sort of, what I would say, beyond hubristic, beyond power-crazed sort of speech? It was astonishing. He tried once or twice to use humour, which he is usually very adept at doing. He's good at that, and he's good sometimes at getting the audience on board. It absolutely failed. There did seem to be a certain perhaps hostility in the audience, certainly not an audience that he had won over at all. I wonder if people walked out of that. Certainly last night it appears there was a dinner in Davos, and the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, was swaggering, buccaneering, new sheriff in town, we're here to confront the status quo, not to uphold it. And a number of people walked out. He was heckled quite severely. A number of people walked out, including, it is reported, the European Central Bank President, Christine Lagarde. You know, there's only so much people can take. And, you know, he doesn't appear to give any regard at all to American soft power. This sort of thing really turns people off the United States. Whatever the raw power argument, and that cannot be disputed, there are other considerations which he has simply swept aside.
Indeed, the message did seem to be that the world needs the United States, particularly, he said, Greenland, saying that Greenland needed to be defended by the United States. Fraser, he actually said that he wasn't going to mention Greenland at all in his speech. And as you mentioned, he did dedicate a very large part of what he said to Greenland. What is next? I mean, the president really seeming to double down on his threats to acquire the island.
Yeah, once again, I think that's part of the bluster that we've become used to from Donald Trump, saying that he wasn't going to mention it. Do you guys want me to mention it? It has been well established by sources from the White House that Greenland was always going to be a part of the speech. It was, of course, impossible for him to ignore. It has been the largest story in the world for the last week or so. So Donald Trump was definitely going to broach it. In terms of what's next, Donald Trump basically here trying to kind of force the arm of NATO, force the arm of Denmark, which, again, worth noting that Denmark didn't send its delegation to Davos because of the situation around Greenland. And I was at that press conference with the Danish foreign minister and Greenland's foreign minister just last week, when the energy there was very different after they came back from that meeting with J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio. They said they were going to set up a high-level talking group to get into negotiations to discuss things, but ultimately that there were red lines, and that the Danish and the Greenlanders had said that there were red lines that they weren't willing to cross. But Donald Trump seemingly here doesn't care about those red lines and is willing to do what it takes to get what he again referred to as the piece of ice numerous times. He said it's not about the minerals and the vast resources that Greenland has, including oil and gas, as well as critical rare earth minerals, but it's because of defense. I think it's hard to argue that Donald Trump has a purely defense interest in Greenland. Those minerals will definitely play into that because, of course, Greenland has signed a defense agreement via Denmark with the United States that says the US could have as many troops and bases on Greenland as it wants. And it has actually been the United States which has reduced its troop footprint there from around 18,000 troops down to around 150. And of course, that is something that if they wanted to increase, then they could if they negotiated that with the both governments. So Donald Trump here looking for a more kind of hostile takeover of things. But again, I think it's worth noting there that he said he is not going to use force to take Greenland. That will be a sigh of relief from leaders of NATO, from leaders of Europe who were worried that a military incursion into Greenland could effectively spell the end of NATO and the end of this transatlantic alliance, which has kept the peace in this part of the world since World War II. But of course, Donald Trump famously is known for going back on his word at times. So whether that is a red line that he will not cross, of course, is going to still be a worry in the back of everybody's minds in Europe and NATO.
All right.